All right, and we are back in the world of Timberborn, and today we are going to drought-proof our city forever. We're going to have an endless supply of water, no matter how long the droughts or bad tides last. Because today we are going to tackle water management, which is one of the toughest challenges in the game, and I believe this is the last before our town is entirely self-sustaining as well. So let's dig in, dam up, and dominate the drought, because by the time we are done, our beavers will never thirst again. Now, in our last episode, we managed to solve the bad tides. We managed to get our second bad tide overflow gate set up. If we let the water flow there, you can see it is successfully diverting the bad water away from this main river channel. And that means that our town is sort of once again alive down here. Now, the problem we have is that right now, this bad tide was about 12 days, and you can see we just ran out of water here. And we might only get 3 days until either our next drought or bad tide. That's not going to be enough to fill these, and particularly if we start seeing really long droughts in quick succession. You know, if we have a 30-day drought and then 3 days of water and then a 30-day bad tide and then 3 days of water and then another 30-day drought, for example, then we will run out of water simply because we can't rely on the water. We can't fill our tanks fast enough while the water is flowing. So we need to have some longer term water storage in the world as well. Now, we are continuing to work on these tanks, and while that's being built, I think we should start planning out our next reservoir, and I think I want to do it here. Now, the trick of this is I think that we're going to use these sluices, come across like so, and then build some levees, just like that, and around here, and around here. And I think if we do this, then this should back water up and store it in this reservoir. And these sluices at the bottom can say we want to close them if the downstream depth is 0.65, which means that if this reservoir here gets above, that depth. So we can come on over here, and I think if we actually disable that and do a stair up there, and we might need our double platforms unlocked here, but run double platforms across there, and that'll also give us a potential way to get up to the far side once those are built. We can run some paths, and over here, I think we'll want to clear out these roads, and then build a new wall of levees, sort of leading back this way. And actually, now that I am looking at this, I'm fairly sure that we want these levees built before these levees. So let's set some priorities. Make sure that they get built in the right order. So we want these ones to be high priority. And do high priority on these ones as well. Yeah, and that should do it. And then we can build our new road. Here, why do we have flooding? We shouldn't have flooding. This gate too full? Yeah, okay. I'll drop that down to 0.65 for now. That should take care of that flooding. Yeah, there we go. All right, so once this is done, this should trap water. And I think it should trap water to about this height. If we follow this sort of platform back, water comes here. So yeah, so this is all one platform right there. So this is all one height. So if we can get it up to this water level, then that should start to overflow into this lake, into this channel, and then the rest, I guess, will flow back through here and overflow into this channel. Now that, I wonder if that is a point of concern for us. If this overflows, is that going to spread bad water out over the land? Now we could wall here. That would raise it another level up, and it would overflow that wall, but it would also have access to edge of the map there. I think we're just going to get this built, do as best we can, and see where the flooding is. I very much doubt that this will spread bad water very far. I think if it overflows and reaches this channel, I think this channel can handle it, and if it can't, I don't think it's going to flood in and wipe out our town. All the same, I think it would be okay for us to build some levees back here. Right there. So we'll go ahead and get those built too. Just in case. Just in case. And actually we can build some stairs. Some stairs up there. And that'll give us access to this upper deck as well. And... okay, so these platforms can't actually be reached. Okay, they won't be able to be reached until stairs are done. And we are out of logs. Let's go ahead. Got some spare beavers. Re-enable these lumberjack flags. Start chopping down trees rapidly again, because we turned off a lot of things to make room for, you know, to see us through some of the difficult times. But we are once again in need of those. We'll have this one set to absorb water. Now the other challenge we're going to run into here is that once this water is trapped here, we need to be able to capture it. And so while this is being constructed, the other thing we need to start working towards is this large water pump. And that requires treated planks. Now, treated planks are made in the wood workshop. It takes 800 science. That's a lot of science. And they are made from planks and pine resin. And pine resin comes from the tapper's shack, which is another 500 science. So we need a lot more science in order for us to properly do this. So let's go ahead and set down some more science buildings. Just over here. And that way we can rush that science and potentially get all we will need for quite a while. Alright, the bad tide has started. It's only 11 days, we should be good. I do wonder if we can get this thing built before our next event. So 11 days plus, 14 more or whatever it is, ends up being. It's just going to be a question of, can we chop enough trees? Let's go ahead and prioritize a couple of these inventors so that we can get that science flowing and make sure we have what we need to get the tapper shack done. Now, I suppose we're also going to need to plant some pine trees that we don't intend to cut down. So if we plant some pine trees over here, I should let us do that. Now I wonder, is pine resin stored as a fluid? Is that something that can be stored in one of these tanks? Now, maple syrup can be stored in a tank. Where is pine resin stored? Is that stored? Okay, yes, so pine resin can be stored in a warehouse. Now, in order to plant these trees, we of course need a forester. So we can go ahead and set up a forester. And actually get that one constructed as well. And that forester can start planting those pines. Now, while we're planting these pines, we need to make sure we are not cutting these trees. So we'll go ahead and unmark this area as a cutting area, because we do not want to cut these trees. But while we're planting these pine trees, let's go ahead and take a look at what else we can plant that could be useful. So pine has the pine tar. The chestnut trees could also potentially be useful for us. They could function as perhaps a food source. And then maple has maple syrup. We can start setting up some maple trees. All right, and we'll let those trees start to grow. We can handle them later. All right, we're starting to get a lot more science going. So let's go ahead and set up a tapper's hut. Because that is one of the next things we're going to need. Tapper's shack. Go right there. That'll take some time to build. And I think the dam is a higher priority than that tapper's shack. So we can leave that there. And then out here, you're going to want, I think, probably another row of levees on the side. Probably take that all the way back to there. Alright, so we have our forester done, and these are all planted. Now, here's an interesting thing. I think once this forester gets all these trees planted, we don't need a forester here anymore. Because we're not going to be chopping these trees. So they will never need to be replanted. And we can delete or disable this forester. At least disable it in the short term. So that is an interesting thought there. Alright, now... Alright, so that'll give us the pine resin. And once we get that, we will need a wood workshop. Wood workshop is over here. Let's see, we could plug it into these buildings. Or... set it up with its own space. There we go. There we go. That's nice. That's much nicer. We can clear these roads. There we go. So that'll give it a water wheel, and we can also connect it to other buildings with some power shafts. So that'll give us 2 water wheels for powering whatever we need over here for producing metal blocks. And then once the wood workshop is done, then that will also go. We are a little bit short on gears, but we'll get there. Alright, with this done, I think we can turn off this forester. Don't think we need him. And let's speed along a little bit. Alright, I think we've got enough science for now. We can go ahead and focus on building. Make sure we have people assigned to our builder's hut as well as to our main station there. And if we can get some of these construction projects done, I think that will go a long way towards helping us out. And I think right there we've hit a major milestone. This is already a 2-deep trench, which would just fill back through this area, and I think that would be really good for us. Building it up more is more icing on the cake than anything else. It also means we don't need, we can deprioritize these constructions right there. We can come back to those later. And we can prioritize these ones. I do think we might need a platform right there so we can get out to this one. So we'll prioritize these ones as well. And then I want our next one to be that. Because that, I think, is what's going to protect us when this thing backflows. Alright, so that has worked. Those gates are closed. The water rises. Yes, it is working. Oh, that is beautiful. Water rises. Oh, and we do have some flooding back here. But not as much as I was afraid of, actually. That's... Oh, so we're still filling up this reservoir. Okay. And once that's full, then we'll start to see more water flowing through here, because that's the only thing left at that channel. So that is flooding over here. We built that wall. This water should evaporate off in fairly short order. Oh, unless it overflows the next level up too. What's it gonna do? Where's the water gonna go? Still rising? Yep, it just overflows right over top of that levee and floods our entire town. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, let's open these gates and drop these ones as well. That water, we just gotta let it flow. We need to keep that upper ground from flooding. That's the critical thing. We can close these gates right now. and then try and trap water before this drought. Okay. So we have more work to do. That is what we have learned here. That did not go to plan. 14-day drought, though. We should be fine. We have plenty of water banked up here. And these ones, we can actually, if we want, we can even have it flow a little further down by raising this up there. Make sure that we are closing these gates, though. Close those gates to 1. No, we'll do 0.9 there. And then these sluice gates we can do to 0.85. That should allow water to flow in from up here to down here. And I would think it would overflow the dam there. So why aren't those opening? Those oh, they should be automatic then. Okay, there we go. So that will allow that to overflow and continue filling this channel. That is, yeah, okay, 0.85 should be fine. And now we have, now this is a pool I'd not given much thought to before. So maybe we'll want to divert some of this over and keep this filled up. For now, though, I think we just need to continue levying off and set this up so it doesn't flood our town anymore. And this is going to have to be a top priority. I think that might be the only levy we actually need, though. I think the landscape will do the rest for us. But we're going to need pathways up. And this is going to actually be a pretty high priority construction because we really can't afford to have that kind of flood happen again. So let's go ahead and maximize the priority on this. And then let's see, where are we at? We have our pine trees have grown. We have our tapper shack. So we're getting our pine resin. This has been built, but we're in drought and the wind is not blowing. I think we may want another windmill on this. Or at least, let's pause our smelter. We got plenty of metal blocks. We do want to get some treated planks going. And we can set up a pile or treated planks. And then, all right. We are getting there. All right, so the last thing we were going to look at is something that can draw water. And actually, now that I see this, I wonder if this is sort of a natural resource for us here in this way. So let's think about this. We wanted the large water pump. We have the signs for it, so let's go ahead and unlock it. And this water pump, could it sit atop this thing? Yes, it could. Put some stairs up and build a path that leads around this way and down here, there. And now if we want to build this up, how do we want to do this? How do we want to create a I mean, we could do, I guess we could just do a platform on the inside. Yeah? Yeah, let's try that. So that, and then I think this was a 3x3 building. A large water pump. Yeah, right there. And that actually is quite nice because then we can do some more stairs. There, and stairs. And up. Right there. Huh, and that can draw all the way down. So even when this reservoir fills, once this levee is built, that should be able to draw water all the way from the depths. And I believe the large water pump, yes, it draws 15 water per hour, whereas a standard water pump draws 3 water per hour. So it's 5 times as efficient. It does require 3 workers, so it's actually only maybe 1.5 times as efficient, but much more compact and can draw from a much deeper well. So I think that will give us what we need in order to fill this tank. And if we want to be double extra certain, it probably wouldn't hurt to set up another tank or 2 up here as well. We can go ahead and start construction on that, because we can never have too much water. If there's one thing I am learning about this game, it's that you can never, ever have too much water. Alright, we've got our pine resin, and we are making our treated planks. So we should be able to build this in fairly short order. I think it's just a question of how quickly can we get the planks. Oh, we already have a drought approaching. Okay, so has the water backflowed yet? It's still filling. Okay, the water is still filling. It has reached the top of that, so this should flood over. Yeah, there we go. But that is the area where it can go and flood off the back of the map. So we have flooded much more of the map than I had originally intended. I actually really still like the idea of building a channel up here and walling this off, creating a sort of an upper reservoir and a lower reservoir. Unfortunately, that doesn't really solve the issue of like having to divert this water from up here. But this, I think, should solve it for now. And as soon as we get 5 gears, we can have our large water pump set up. And we are once again short on workers. We'll have to expand our worker supply here soon, but this will solve the survival issue. This will give us everything we need in order to survive long term, and then we can really focus on keeping those food supplies up and building up housing, because this water, in theory, should be able to provide for a huge number of additional beavers, especially if we can also tap this this large lake back here and even run a line of pumps down this reservoir. We should be just fine. And so these 17-day droughts, I am just fine with. This is a very comfortable time for us. All right, and I think we want to get this this last water pump up and running. If we can do that, I think I'll be satisfied with this water storage system. And there it is. It's already pumping. And so now we can draw as much water as we want out of this. We've got this whole large reservoir to drain. It's only 1 tile deep, so it'll evaporate off pretty quick, I think. But we have the second tile of depth underneath it. And then as we go forward, of course, it gets deeper still. Another thing we might play around with, and I don't know that I want to do it today, is what if we were to levee off this back wall, except for a small section, which we either just plugged in dams or used floodgates, set to 85%. Just enough to let the water flow out, but still preserve most of that tile of depth, because that would give us 3 full tiles of depth along the river channel and 4 tiles of depth right here. And I quite like that. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and set that up as a sort of an ongoing great work. Not a priority, but just another layer of, buffering against whatever may come. Down there, and just down there. Here. Put it all the way along there. Should be fine. Roads. Across there and there. Alright, so at some point our beavers will get to those construction jobs. They may even, they're already starting on them. Because we're actually pretty well equipped. We've got a good supply of planks, overflowing supply of logs. Although we did run out for a time there. I wonder if that is something else we could invest in, is the underground pile here. Now that is an expensive building, 1,000 science points. But the ability to store 1,000 logs at a time might be well worth it, especially if we can move it somewhere a little bit closer to where we're actually chopping trees, because we aren't really doing anything over on this part of the map anymore. So I think that is where we are going to leave it for today. I'm really pleased with how things have been going. I think we're in a really good spot going forward. So starting now, I don't think we need to worry as much about survival, and we can actually turn our attention to what the sort of core objective of the game, at least so far, for us has been, and that is to unlock the Iron Teeth and focus on our well-being. But we'll save that for next time. I'd like to thank you guys for spending a few minutes with me here in the world of Timberborn. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Leave a like if you have, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. My name is Dakoba, and I hope you have an epic day. I'll see you soon.